So yes, we discussed like we went to the home page on the GitHub and we clicked on the new and we created a repository. So all the available repositories are available visible there, and we went to the repository which we created, which is DevOps. So what are the two types of repositories which are available to the individual users? Personal, sorry, public and private. When we go to the organizations, there is a in the organizations we can have an option to
So do we need to download the GitHub or how to get that?
for what? No,
I'm trying to
GitHub
get
is
how how to get GitHub.
yeah no GitHub is a you can log in from the browser github.com.
Oh, okay. Uh,
Yep. And if you don't have an account, okay, let me show you.
I already have account.
Yeah,
Let's try.
then log into your account, and you can try to create one any empty repository just by clicking the new repository, give some name, tick this box, and click on create. So we have seen like creating a repository. So how do we create a repository? We can go to this home page or like anywhere like so you see this new button, you can click on it, type in some name for the repo name, and choose whether it is public or private. And for a first time, like add a readme file for it, and then click on create a repository. So this takes you to it will create a empty repository with a readme file for you, and you can see the list of repositories here. And DevOps is the one repository which we created for our class like yesterday, and we did few modifications to the readme.md. Modifications means the initial version of the code had some heading called DevOps. So in my next set of changes, I wanted to few some line addition and a word addition to this particular line. So I committed those changes. Committed those changes means I made the changes in my local. So on any respective branch, you can see the information like how many number of commits and like who did the latest commit and what are the different files available on that particular branch. So we went to the master branch and we have modified the existing files and we made the changes to the previous version. We updated the version. A version in the sense we made few changes and we did a commit. So that's how the commit is nothing but tracking the all the changes which we have made in that particular uh, push or like in that particular respective commit, so that you can understand that in a commit it need not whether it can be a single file or whether it is can be in multiple files. There is a file addition or file modification. So the moment you are done with your changes, you are making a commit. So that's been tracked by the GitHub. So instead of protecting the master, what we did, we created a branch from master. So and we did few changes over there as well. And once that is being done, we raised a pull request. Pull request to master from modify readme, so that I can verify those changes and merge them. So I raised a PR from the PR or the pull request. PR is a short form for pull request. So you raised a P, I raised a PR like pull request to master, so that I wanted to update the content of master with the new change which I made in my respective branch. And I do create a session 7 branch from the source branch for session 7 is modify readme. So this is what the the distributed version control system means you can create a branch from any branch and you can track all the commits which it have. So we did observe that in the master, whichever the commits we made, whenever we created a branch from that respective master branch, it did add all the commits which we have done on the master branch. So which it says like along with the copying the content, it will copy the content entire the history of logs, like the entire history of commits as well. So today let's see, we will go through like how can we do this from the command line, because it's no uh, until unless if it is a small change like in a single file. Yes, central versus distributed means, so central, let's say I have master and I'm going to create a branch. Most of the times in clear case people call it as a views. So a view can be created from master, but you know you cannot create, or like you cannot create a view from an existing view. So there would be a master version control system, and from that you have to keep creating the views. So here it's not like this. So whenever you created a modify readme branch, it itself can be a central branch, because you can, it will have the history, it will have the the respective all the commit histories and all, and you can do a merge to this one and you can track this particular branch. You are able to do the pull request, right, to the respective branch from modify to session oh 07. So that's what the difference between central means there would be only one single line, and whatever the branch which you created from it, from there you cannot create any additional one, so that you cannot do any of the code merging stuff, and it's supported for the only central branch. And yeah, so today we will see like what are the stuff that we have discussed. So most of, until unless if it is very much uh, uh, very much important, like you're very much needed, people will do the change from the UI. Like if suppose you wanted to do a modification to the file one, you click on the edit. So but this is not the ideal case, so I just wanted to make you understand like what is the file changes that we are doing and how are we creating a file. So there are set of git commands, so which you will allow you to do the changes at your uh, in your terminal or local thing. So where is my git bash? It is in my local machine, correct? Yeah, follow this guys. So I'm trying to start the git commands, and starting with the cloning and everything. So let's see, let's try to understand. So when I say I created a repository on my GitHub, so where is this? Where is the physical files exist? Where does this physical files or the physical branches, physical in the sense, I mean, where is this original content? Can I see it in my any of my desktop folder or any of my downloads folder? Where is it? It is at, yeah, I cannot see in my local. It is at the GitHub. It is hosted from a uh, remote, so it's not in my local, correct? So a repository which is hosted on any respective Git provider or any respective server is called remote repository. So the remote repository and the changes, when I bring this one, like when I just copy this particular branch, I can do zip it, or I can do this one, like I can clone. So when I bring these changes to my desktop, I can I will call that as a local repository. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So in order to do that, means like this is a remote repository. as we just understood, like, which is hosted at the respective Git provider or, the remote location. How can I make it available as a local repository? Local repository in the sense, it has to come to my desktop. Yeah. Let's say what was the folder that we created for our learning purpose? DevOps. Yes. So here I'll make a directory. What is a command to make a directory? mkdir. Let's say DevOps repo. So I just made this, available like a new directory, and I wanted to seed it to this directory. I want to bring the content here. So forget about this DevOps or DevOps repo. This is just a empty directories which I created in my local machine. So when I do an ls, there is nothing ls hyphen la, nothing. See, empty. But how can I bring this particular remote repository into my local? So there is a command called git clone. Git clone. So git clone. So the from the name itself, it says like clone. So you're cloning the some endpoint URL. So what is the URL for it? So to find the URL, you can go to this green color button and you can see the clone URL. So you can copy that URL and paste after my git clone. Yep. So it just do an ls. If you are doing for the first time, so it might ask you to authenticate. So it may take you to the authentication page. So that is this one-time activity. So please try to do that. So is anybody is doing with me and stuck at this point like clone? Yes. Could you please share your screen so that I can guide you to how the things how do you need to authenticate and also that others also can learn. You can just copy paste. So paste will not work. So you have to just type in right click and paste. Git clone space and right click and paste, or you can just type in also. That's fine. So you can get the URL from here. Git space clone space and this URL. Yeah. Anyone who is getting that error, like you have to do the authentication, could you please share your screen? No, could you just please let me know like what is the issue so that we can discuss. Can we proceed, guys? Might be no, because you're trying to authenticate from the Git, right? So Git and your local Git bash should understand, but yeah, that's fine. So yeah, it might be reason like the public because one-time authentication is required for a Git bash to store the credentials. Sometimes it may do it automatically like whenever you try to clone the repo. So because you are trying to get the content from the Git bash, so yes, this public repo might be one of the reason like it's not asking you for the user ID and password. So even if in your organizations also if it's take you to the any uh, whenever you start working, if it is asking you to go to the user ID, ask you to enter the user ID and password, whether it can be any Git provider, whether it is Bitbucket or GitLab, so you need not worry it. So it's just like a one-time activity. So in in GitHub, you can authenticate the respective values. So you got this DevOps, just do an ls. So what was the command did we used? Git clone and the clone URL. And now let's say when I just do an ls hyphen l, uh, it seems it has a directory, correct? Oh, is it? Sorry, did I stop that?
Share the screen, sir. We
Yeah,
are
yeah,
not showing
yeah.
anything.
I'm doing. Sorry, I clicked that wrong button. Yep, sorry. So let's say I just did. So what is the command to do the git clone? So git clone clone URL, correct? So the moment you did git clone URL, it did created an empty direct. Sorry, it did pull put the content from the respective repository, from the remote repository, correct? But when I check at my local, it looks to me like a directory. Why am I calling it as a local repository? Let's say there is a command to list out the branch. Let's say I'm at this anyway. This is also a directory, so let's just I will try to run git branch. What is it saying? Fatal, not a git repository or any other parent directories. It says there is a you can do cd to the DevOps and run the same command called git branch. So after doing a clone, just write down the list of commands, then we'll go for the explanation. First command, git clone, copy the clone URL, and then the moment you are downloaded with after the completion, then second step, cd to the directory. Actually, it's not a directory, it's a local repo. But the local repo is get created as part of the directory. So you can cd to the directory. So what did I do? So I was at this particular directory. You can see the pwd. I was at this particular directory and did git clone. And after completion of git clone, I was able to see that DevOps was cloned here. I need to cd to DevOps. Clear? So let's see. Yeah. So by default, I'll get the default branch, which is master branch. So there is file one, there is readme.md. Actually, just try to do ls-l. There would be another folder uh, called ls-la called git. So this is the one which it is tracking, this is the one which is making this DevOps folder or the directory acting as a local repository. So you can go to .git, cd.git, just do an ls. See, there are head, config, hooks, index, objects, references, cd2 refs, just for remotes. Just try to see what are there in the remote repository. References is nothing but the branches, guys. So there is origin, ls, there is head, ls hyphen la. So there is this file head, cat the head. So at present there is it's tracking only the master branch. So when I say uh, git branch, a command called git branch, how come it is able to understand that there is a particular this branch which I am checked out. So it says like which is tracking the remote margin. So it just you can understand like it is the .git folder. So there are a couple of files as well. So they're not much important, but I'm trying to say like existence of that particular .git repository in our the directory is enabling this DevOps as a local repository. Just a quick check, no, just cd to dot till the DevOps repo. Okay, DevOps. Okay, ls. I do have my first folder, right? So do cd to my first folder. Let's say an ls. There are some content. Go to the second folder. Just do an ls. Oh, let's go to third ls. I can remove this log file. So clear it. Let's see. I'm into some random directory. Okay, some third directory, and there is nothing in it. ls hyphen la. La, why I'm trying to see is like, is there any hidden files or not? So when you do this ls hyphen la, there is this directory is empty. Now just run the command git init is nothing but initialization. There is no remote repository, there is no local repository, just you are running the git init. What is it said? Initialized empty git repository. So now this third folder, the folder third is acting as a repository. Which repository? Local repository. Does this have any link to the remote repository? As of no. There is no link to the remote repository. So how can you LA? So see, there is a folder called .git created. So it is the .git folder which makes any folder like act as a repository. So there are head, config, description, hook, object, refs. So now if you go to the refs, I don't think only the master, but it's not tracking any of the changes. So just see cat the config file. So if you say repository version file mode and all, but if you look at the configuration of the the repository that we cloned, what is the repository that we cloned? DevOps cd DevOps repo, the DevOps, and inside this there is a .git folder, and here I wanted to cat config. See, it has remote origin. Remote origin means remote repository. So there is a URL for it, which is remote URL and fetches and the address of origin. And currently I'm at the master branch. And when I did a git init, like initializing an empty repository, it clearly says like you perform git init, it's saying like initialized an empty repository in the respective folder. So it is an empty repository. It don't have any tracking with the remote repository. So you can check the config. So there is nothing. It just had the code. So video can make some comments that also will learn like how we can add it or how we can update it, those things like the remote origin. So if you update this remote origin value, it will get the tracking. It will modify the respective tracking from the remote repository. So why am I say it's tracking? Now try to run, clear the screen. So I'm just clearing. Are you able to follow guys till now? Like what did git init does and what did let's try to run in a notepad. So I will share it. Git clone. What is the purpose of it? To clone the remote repo into local machine as a local repo. And then what we did? Git cd to the respective branch, or sorry, cd to local repo directory, and then we did git init. So what did git init did? Initialized empty repo. Were you able to follow this? So git init you need not perform, but you. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Just I'm repeating guys, so don't worry about it. Git clone, it's clear. It will bring the copy of remote to local, and git init. So if in uh, any of the empty directories, you know what I'm saying? Any of the empty directories, when you run git init, it will make a empty repository. What is the difference between empty repository and the local repository, which is tracking the master repository? So now we are in a repository which it is tracking the master repository. You can type git log. What did it say? So there are bunch of information, right? What is the commit number? Who did it? When they did it? What is the name for that particular commit? All starting from, you can just do git log and keep hitting enter. So it will show you on the console. So the moment you are done, you can click Q. This is something like less command. When you do less or more command, it used to print the content on the screen, and the moment you keep on hitting enter, it will take you till the end. You can click the alphabet Q from the keyboard. What did it have? Actually, where was this information I do can see? I can see this on my remote, right? I can see this content on my remote branch. But what I'm saying, I'm able to see using a command called git log to view the commit information, or you can say, the mostly the commits are important. So I can say like, it's a commit information. So are you able to follow this? I was able to earlier like, view this content on my remote repository. So, but whereas if I run this git log on my, empty directory, it won't work because that's just an empty git repository. There is no remote origin which it is tracking the any a remote repository which is available on my GitHub or any Git provider. So now let's do what did we did yesterday. So we don't want to modify anything on the master. We wanted to create a branch and start working. So what is the command for it? To create a branch, git branch -b branch name. So this is to create a new branch, correct? Sorry, sorry guys, it's not a git branch, it's checkout. My bad. Git checkout -b branch name to create a new branch and switch to that branch and switch to that switch to the new branch. Git checkout -b. What is the branch name? Can anyone give some good name? Let's say the shell script which I did, so the script we did, the shell script. So what is he saying? Switched to a new branch shell script. So it created a branch in my local and switched to this particular branch. So let's say if I wanted to view all the branches, like which are all available in my local and also on the master, there is a command with git branch hyphen a. So git branch hyphen a is telling you, like, the one which are with white color are, like, they are already checked out into your local, but so the one which is with a green color, you can see it like your current branch. You can see, like, a star color, a star representation, which tells your current branch. If suppose you are working on Mac or any of the terminal, you might not see the branch name next to it. But in order to make identify like which branch you are, you can type git branch or git branch hyphen a. Git branch hyphen a will give you all the list of repositories which are available. Let's say, see, remote. On my remote, there are three branches: master, modify readme, and session 7. And this shell underscore script was not pushed to the remote yet. So, you know, any change which you are modifying it this particular location in your local repository will not affect the remote repository. Any modifications made here will not impact on remote. There is a condition until you perform push command. Until unless you do push, remote will not get updated. So you can, getting my point. So you created a branch. So using a command git branch, so git checkout hyphen b. Is it available on my master? Sorry, is it available on my remote repository? No, but I am saying like I created a branch. So which is like it is created in my local repository. Clear, guys? Able to follow? Not yet. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, could you please mute yourself? Okay. Hmm. Okay. Yep. Thanks. Someone did mute all, it might mute mine as well. So yes. So in my local repository, I created a branch called shell script, and this will not get created on my remote repository until I perform my push command. So let's try to add some changes to the content. So where did from what was the source for my shell script branch? It is the master branch. So when I was at master, correct? When I was at master branch, I created hyphen b. So if at this point, if I create, another branch, it will be created from shell script. So as I said, whenever a branch is created from any branch, it will have all the history, like, all the commit history also. You can perform the git log on shell script branch also. What it will have? It will have all the information which is available on the master branch because you created this shell script branch from master in your local repository. Now let's do something. Vim that script dot sh. So what was the change that we have made? Let's quickly summarize couple of lines. Uh, Committing, it's important to learn these wordings, guys. So instead of like we say copy and versioning, so we just it's get if we get used to the words that we use, like committing this file from local repo to master, sorry, to remote repo. It seems there is a file one already, right? So let's try. Yeah, it just the command. It's not going to execute. Okay, perfect. So I do created a new file called script. So now, in order to make this change available on my remote repository, like I wanted to see that branch, and so there is a command which you can call, like you can see git status. So git status will show you like is there any file which it is like not tracked, or like uh, what is it saying, untracked files. So untracked files in the sense, if you make any changes to the script when it is in untracked mode, it won't bother about it. The moment you did add it like into a tracking list, it will start tracking that is there any modification happened to this file. Let's say I wanted to modify this file now, saying like any adding any other comment, repository. So some words. So if I do git status, it is still in untracked. So to add it, use git add to include the what you wanted to commit it, like to track it. Git add what is my file? It is my script.sh, correct? So git add script.sh, or if you wanted to add everything which is at the current directory, you can do git add dot. So I wanted to commit add my the script.sh, so I did you know git add script.sh. Let's say git status. So now you see the changes to be committed. So now this is under tracking. When it is in tracking, let's try to make one more change and see the difference. What is mean by tracking and what is untracked. Repository. So now perform git. Yeah, warning. You can ignore the warning. Is it LF? Is it the same warning? If it is the same warning, you can ignore it. Git status. When you run git status, when it was in untracked, it wasn't saying like modified. Since you added it using git add this command, so it started to track that file. Track that file means it will see like is there any other changes happened on that file. Let's try to see the git difference. Git diff. The git diff command will give you what is being modified. So what was the modification? Earlier there is no repository full name. It's just a repo earlier. So it was removed and in modification made with this particular word. Clear? So you can, if you wanted to add this change, you can add it again. Git add script.sh. If you do git diff now, nothing, because it's added. So there is nothing which is in untracked. You can check in the git status. So though you can create a file, and in order to track that file, let's say some log file. Okay, I'm doing this exercise again, guys. Same thing which I did for script.sh. So please follow it. Vim log file, a new file in my shell script branch. I did check out, and I'm doing, I'm creating a new file to this log file, storing the logs of the application. The application started successfully, some message. Okay, this is my log file. So what does this mean by untracked file log file? So when you create a new file, so untracked means nothing but the name itself clearly says like that, guys. So the name itself clearly says Git will not track any changes you perform to this branch. Even if you push, it will not be pushed. If you wanted to bring it to the radar of Git, you have to add it so that it will add, or it will commit, or it will get pushed, or any changes to that log file will get pushed. So now without keeping untracked, let's try to commit and push the changes. So let's say git commit is to add a the version message. We were doing the commit from the remote repository, right? So same thing you can do from the local by using the commit. Git commit -m is to give some message to it. So you can give a message saying like uh, commit from local repo. Perfect. Now it is being committed. Committed means this commit whenever you do git log, you are viewing all the commit information, right? Something like what is the message for it and when did it created. So whenever you do commit, see commit from local repo. Were you able to see it on the Git page? No, you cannot until unless you do push, whether it is a commit message or whether it is a new branch, whether it is a new file, you cannot see on the remote. So that is a goodness of this Git. You can do create the branches in your local. You can do commit the changes, and their local repository will completely act like any uh, one a standard repository. So it can have the branches. You can view the logs. So now this particular branch with this commit, I wanted to push to the remote. So now you should do git push command. So ideally git push would do the push to the respective stuff, but try to understand with the complete path. Git push origin and the branch name. What is my branch name? Shell script. So even though if this doesn't exist, it will get created with this command. I hit enter. Yeah, it's doing, it's creating a pull request for this shell script so that it can create the branch. So new branch is created on my remote repository. So you can see shell script had a recent pushes, and you can go to that branch, or you can just select the branch. Earlier it was 3 branches. Now this is a 4th branch, new branch. So with push, you made a push. But where is my log file? I do have the log file, no? What happened to my log file? It did push only script.sh with a message saying like commit from my local repo, not added. Yes. If you don't add, it cannot track it, it cannot commit it, it cannot push it. Just do git status. So git status is a very helpful command. So you can run a number of times, it will just keep tell you the status. Is there any non-added files or, if you, so you can just do git add log file, or if you wanted to, there is a, let's say, create one directory also, mkdir src cd to src and write some file, let's say program.java. So you're just writing some program. Hmm, my first, some, it's a random file. I'm just trying to make sure that, if it is src, some JavaScript. Just now you wanted to push this log file src program.java. So let's try to just do git status. So log file and the src folder, they are not. So either you can use git add, you can specify each file name like this, or you can simply say since they are in your current directory, you can type in dot. Dot represents current directory. So in the current directory, since they are there, they were added. You can check the git status. See, now it's tracking these files. You can commit it, so that git commit -m some message. Hmm, push log file. Now I did enter the commit message. So will it be available on my remote repository? Let's check the commits. No. What should I do to make it available here? No. When I did commit, I couldn't see that respective commit message on my remote. What should I do? I need to push, guys. If I want to make it any, yes, push. Perfect. So until unless you make a push, it will not be replicated on the remote. Git push origin. Origin stands for remote. Shell script.
So sorry to interrupt. Can
Yep.
we just like with the git push? Do we have to also include like the origin and this that
Yes,
branch name?
branch name. Yes. It's
What is
all.
the reason for that?
It will tell you to respective which, which, uh, sorry, it will tell you origin stands for the reference head for the origin. Let's say origin stands for remote repository, and it will tell you to push to the respective repository if suppose that is not being tracked. So actually, whenever you do git checkout to any of the existing branch, it will say like it is tracking it. So since this is a new branch, so there is no tracking for this, this respective branch on the remote repository. So we have to explicitly tell saying git push origin to the shell script. Now try to do the git push. That's it. So what is it saying? The current branch shell script has no upstream branch. By default, actually upstream is set only to the master. Master in the sense default branch. The moment you git clone or anything, so git push this setting an upstream. It will be set actually, but it will be set to master by default. If you wanted to change that, so you can run this command like, git push set upstream. What am I typing again? Origin and the remote repository name, correct? Even in my push also, I am typing git push origin and the remote repo name, or like, sorry, I am just typing the branch name, git push origin and the branch name. You can set upstream. Set upstream in the sense you need not uh, type in that complete path again and again. But when you try to switch between branches, you again have to set upstream, or if not, you have to type in the respective uh, branch name. So let's say now, let's say we'll do shell scripting. Sorry, shell script. Correct. So it will set the upstream for this particular branch. You know, it will be tracked. Then you can do the git push, so that the moment you do git push, it will by default it will check for the thing in your git push. I think it is still checking for git branch shell script. Did it pushed or what? Yeah, it did pushed. Clear? So if it pushed, it will say everything is up to date. So when you do this git push set upstream origin, and it's trying to push, and along by doing that it is trying to do. Now if you make any changes, you need not run any push origin branch name, or let's try to make some quick change and try to understand that. I wanted to modify my log file. Just add a new line. Net of in. Yes, sorry guys, so there was some network interruption. So just quickly add some line to it, and a small modification to the existing file. So you can see git status. Yes, it is modified. Git add, git commit, add a new line to log file. So now I will just type in git push. I need not set the upstream and again and again. I need not once since I set the upstream, I need not use the git push origin and shell script. So does that uh, did you understand this? Did that answer your question? So if you don't set the upstream, you have to explicitly mention like push origin and the branch name. So let's say since we switch between most of the times in the branches, so you need not worry about which branch you're tracking. So you can use the command saying like git push origin and the remote branch name. Clear?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. So now, and we did this pull operation also, right? So we did like, like let's say we are just trying to do the checkout of the existing branch. Like, sorry, this is a new branch. So creating a new branch. If you wanted to check out to a new branch and do the changes, let's say what is the command to see all the branches, whether it is in my local or remote, git branch with hyphen a, correct? So now let's say I wanted to modify readme. I wanted to check out to my modify readme. So git checkout modify underscore readme. Did you observe guys? I am not using the hyphen b branch because this particular branch already exists. whether it is in remote or whether it is in local, I need not bother. If it is going for the first time, I have to use the option -b. If I am checking out the existing branch, I need not use the -b option. I can check out, modify, read me. Now see the content. ls-la. See, there are no files, right? So my shell script had the files. Either there is an src folder, file one, or a log file, and all, or like script one. But what did my modify readme had? Only readme. So let's try to see, is it the only readme? Yeah, only readme. .git and empty folders are by default, like they are available as part of DevOps folder. But what is the content in my particular branch? Only readme. Where did the other changes go? They were, they just scratched, like they were just uh, tracked, but they just vanished from the existing workspace, and now we are in the respective branch. So now you can just go ahead and modify the content which you want. Let's say someone who is assigned with shell script, they started working on it, and someone who assigned a task on modify readme, they will work on it. Like they can go to the readme file, and here we can write down something like git commands. Just try to push this one, and then we can see like git status. Why is it telling modified? I haven't added it because it's already present and tracking as part of the modify readme. So I can add the change, and I can commit the change. Git commands heading to readme file. So, and I wanted to git push. Will the push work this time? Just if I do git push. Oh, it's pushing. Great. Actually, the set upstream should be done. I think it's did set upstream when we do the checkout, if I remember correctly. Status. Yep. See, git checkout modify readme, switch to a new branch, and the setup stream was modified in this line. See, branch modify readme, set up to track. See, earlier we didn't had this for a new branch which we created called shell script. So since setting of this uh, tracking was done for the remote repository, so it's able to understand like the setup stream to the particular branch, and it's able to push it. Clear? So even if you do the checkout of this one, the script, which one? What is the existing branch? Let's say what is a git branch -a shell script, right? So if you check out git checkout shell script branch, switch to this branch, and this is being updated with this particular origin. The branch is up to date with origin/shell script. Origin/shell script. What did I tell you? Like if it is origin, it represents the remote repository. So which means it's tracking. Correct? So now let's say I wanted to merge these changes. Which changes? Modify into the master and shell script into the master. So that is my end goal, right? So any changes which I made, I need to raise a pull request and merge that particular branch to the master, so that my master will be, instead of pushing to the master, I will click on create pull request and create a pull request.
We can do that from local also, right? Or
Yes,
we
we
have
can do that from the local also. Yes, it will tell you for this one. So then I thought like, I can, so you can
Yeah,
merge,
sure. Yep.
confirm the merge. So now master is updated with this commits of shell script. So anything whichever you can do it on the master remote repository, you can do it on the local repository also. So now I need to modify read me. Clear? So I wanted to update the content of modify readme. Let's say, git check out. What did I tell you? We have to check out to the respective branch. Check out master. Sorry, git. So by staying in the master, you have to pull the content of modify readme. Git pull origin. You are specifying modify readme. So it's what it is says. Merge the branch modify readme of into the master. Just hit escape colon WQ, or if you wanted to change the respective merge message, you can do that. Let's like pull modify readme to master in local. You can modify also. So you can just click colon WQ. This is same like Vim editor, which it will open the moment you do pull. So what did it say? Merge made by the strategies. So so now you can see the git log. You see, uh, master was git add commands and git pull modify. So, but there is so the latest changes on the master were not pulled. Do you observe the latest commits on the master, which it is was done from my the which branch, the shell script branch. So in order to pull those changes, you should type in git pull. So git pull will reference you from the master itself. So you are merging the master content. So you can just type it colon WQ. Now you got the content of shell script content, whichever the content which you have pushed as part of the shell script branch to the master branch was pulled locally. So now you see git log, you see pull modify readme, and you merge the master of this particular DevOps branch, which is master. Now you can just push the master. So git status. So nothing to commit. So just to git push to push to the master branch. So what we did, we merged the content of modify readme into the master using the git pull command. Now see whether both the changes exist or not. Just reload the master page. Now you see readme. So in the readme, what was the command? So git commands. Clear? Where did I modify it? In my local. Where did I pulled it? In my local. You see the add git commands heading to the readme line. Clear, guys? We'll just write down, all the commands in this readme file so that, you can reference just by looking at the. So let's say for this purpose, I will just try to, push from the master itself. Vim readme.md git commands. What are the git commands? Git clone repo URL. Are you able to follow this? I'm just typing on, I'm just repeating the commands which we have performed today. Git clone to clone the remote repository into local repository, local machine. So if I made this changes to this readme.md, you can go to this particular repository and you can just scroll on, because by default it will read out the readme.md. So you need not open any file, but it will display you the content of readme on the respective folder in whichever what might be the folder you have. If you have a readme.md inside this folder, it will read out the readme.md by default. So we're just trying to make sure that instead of this notepad stuff, I'm trying to make the comments available here so you can access them from this repository link. So what is the other command what, which we used after cloning? Cd repo name, because that is how it will create the directory actually, the repo name, or you can say slash or directory. Yeah. What is the next command, guys? Yeah, can you, what is the other command that we have used?
Branch.
Git branch, git branch to check which branch we are working on. Git branch hyphen a to display all the branches. Git checkout hyphen b branch name. So you need not bother about this arrow commands, guys. So arrow commands I'm telling you to like a variable. So you don't need to give this less than symbol and greater than symbol when you try trying the URL. Or maybe it's better we give one example. Git branch to create a new branch. New is important, guys, because if you do the git checkout hyphen b for the existing branch, it will create an empty branch without any tracking. So git create new branch, it will just create a new branch without any tracking. So example hyphen b my local branch. What? Now, what else? After checking out, you perform some modifications and you wanted to track them. So git add to add the files, which means make the files into tracking from untracked mode. So nothing but you wanted to add the files. Once you add the files, you can commit. So these three commands are frequently running commands, you can just memorize them. Like, these, whether you will do this, checkout and all these examples, but add commit push, you will do several times. Git commit hyphen m, commit message to create the commit, which is nothing but version. Correct? Git push origin branch name to push the local changes to remote repository for the respective branch. Clear? And what is the command did we use to check the difference? Git difference to see the difference in local machine. This has to be performed before. When do we need to perform it? Before git add. If you add it, it just added and it's being under tracked. So if you, before adding only, if you perform this command, it will show you the difference. Then you can take the decision, right, whether it is to add or not. Git status, one more important command to check the current status of the files in repo. Like example, uh, whether like uh, untracked or added. If it is added, it will be in a tracked mode and ready for commit. Or if it is in no commits, if there are no commits to be made, like whether any commits to be made. So if it is like no commits which we can see on that particular branch, you can just try to commit that. If you suppose you don't see any changes which needs to be committed, you can perform the git status. So git status, if you just type and hit git status, you can try to understand. Git log to view the commit information or the on the respective branch on the, yeah, on the, all these are on the respective branches. So to view the commit information. Am I missing any other command, guys? Perfect. Git init. So this can go parallelly. So you can do git init also before clone, but it's like git init to initialize an empty repository. Yeah. Anything am I missing? Clear? Let me push this to perfect pull. So push is done. So what is other command? Let us add it here. Git pull origin to pull the branch into current branch. clear? Did you are able to understand this on git pull? Git pull origin to pull the branch into current branch, which means what did we do? We did check out to master, and on the master, then we pull the respective branch. So pull, you have to be careful, you have to just understand like whether you are in which branch. So you have to stay in that branch and then pull the stuff. Perfect. Anything, is there anything? Upstream command. Yeah. Upstream and all you can have it. So even if you just say like, yeah, let's say set upstream, right? Mm, that's not important, but we can. If you just try to make a habit of, git pull origin branch name, git push origin branch name, you need not worry about that upstream stuff. But anyway, it's better to add it. Git, what was that? Push hyphen hyphen set upstream origin and the branch name. Because you see, observe here also you are giving the same branch name. Anything else? Yeah. Can we push this change to the master? Git add, git commit, git commands. Since it is on master, I can directly go type push, but it's better to give git push origin master. So just reload the page, you can see on the screen. Git init. What? Why is it not getting into null? And I think it's better to add a space between each line. Perfect. What to type? Okay, this will correct later. No problem. See, even a single change we can track it as a commit. I'll just give you this URL in the chat channel. So you can reference these commands, guys, in the README file. Clear?